Hey guys, Liam here. In this video we're going to look at the second quartile of a sit and go tournament. If you haven't seen the first quartile, I recommend you go back now and give that a quick watch, otherwise you're not really going to follow what's going on here. So what happens in the second quartile of the tournament? Well, basically the blinds are gradually increasing as you're playing, and hopefully in the first section, should you have played it tight, you've been watching your opponents and you've managed to single out those that you believe are going to be the targets for you to attack and try and get the chips off. Because by this point there could be many low stacks around the table that are maybe got a little bit of desperation creeping into their games, so you can easily target these people and try and take their chips. So with regards to the hand ranges that you're going to be playing, you're going to want to open up a little bit, try and capitalise on these people making spewy moves. But I would still recommend playing tight in this area because the blind levels are still relatively low compared to the size of your stack, and if you've watched my video on M zones, you'll know that it's important to play different styles at different levels of M or stack size. As for where the second quartile begins, I would say it starts at the 25, 50, 50, 100 level. This is where the blinds are starting to get a little bit higher in comparison to your stack, and the pot starts to get a lot bigger. So stealing in position, I would say, starts to become more profitable. And by stealing in position, if you've watched my position video, you'll know it means opening up the hands that you're going to be playing there. So you could maybe not steal too lightly, but I'd steal with almost any ace that I'm dealt, any two high connecting cards, any pair, any suited connected cards, that sort of thing. As just said, you'd start playing less strong hands to allow yourself to bust the spewy players, which are quite easily noticeable even if you don't have software, because they have just played every single hand you'll have been watching in the early stages, and they've just been messing around and losing chips. And by this point, most people start to believe that they're in trouble when they fall below about 1,000, but it's a common misconception. I've won many tournaments by just playing aggressively and falling below like 1,000. I'd say you're only really in trouble when you fall below 750, but even then you're still fine. So target those people and get into hands with them and try and just hit a top pair, because usually even top pair would be good against these sort of people. You could start to try and punish limpers, though it is a risky strategy to start to do, because in sit and goes, especially in these levels, I mean, if it was the 25-50 mark, it could come around to you and about 4 people could have limped in for about 50 and you're sat on your button with ace 10. You could easily raise it up to about 200 and possibly make them all fold, though it is a risky style to start adopting, and I don't recommend it unless you feel confident in your abilities on the flop, the turn and the river. Your range itself, if it was particularly tight in the first quartile, you should open it up a little bit, but it's entirely up to you how you open it up. I mean, I recommended my style of play in the first quartile, which I believe stands and holds for the second quartile, except for maybe with more stealing and maybe a bit more aggression with my raise sizes. So to break down what I've been trying to say, this is the hand ranges I would recommend playing by position. It is all my own opinion, and it is quite difficult for me to tell you what I would play and how I'd play it, because a lot of it is situational dependent. For example, if there was a crazy guy at the table, I'd start playing a lot tighter and maybe try and single him out by playing against him by using only strong cards against him, for example, and I wouldn't raise, instead I would limp. All of these recommendations listed here are for raises. You should enter the pot with these hands with a raise. As you can see, there are quite a lot of missing pairs throughout the middle and the late position. That's because I wouldn't raise them. I much prefer to limp in with pairs. A lot of people disagree with me on that, but I have busted many people out of tournaments by disguising the fact that I have a pair and then hitting a set on the board, because I believe that raising with a pair, for example raising with pocket fives in middle position, is just going to get you in trouble when 2 people behind you call you and you don't see a 5. All you've done then is exploded the pot and got it a lot bigger than it needs to be, and when you've missed your 5 you can't do anything, because c-betting would be a little bit crazy because there's 2 people behind you and they've most likely got something or they're going to play back at you. I'm not very keen on playing ace-jack in early position with the gun, but depending on how many people are behind you, most of this depends on whether you're playing 6 max or 9 max. These would change if you were playing 9 max, but these are sort of based around playing 6 max. But and for the small blind, it's very tricky to know what to play there. It ultimately depends on how defensive the person is on your left, so I can't really give you advice on how to play against the big blind as such, but I would recommend. I like to go for a technique which I call the limp check bet fold, which is basically if you limp in, he checks, you bet, and then he folds, which happens quite a hell of a lot, and it's quite an effective technique that I like to use. So in summary then, you need to learn where you think the easy chips are. Still no need to go for crazy bluffs. Go for some more steals when you're in late position, and you need to open up your hand range slightly, but it does not matter that much if you continue to stay tight in this area. The main point where you're going to need to loosen up is in the third and the fourth quartile, which I'll cover in later videos. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you can take something from this strategy I'm trying to teach, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.